Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and today we're doing lesson number 5, shapes H and I, in your template download and in the instruction booklet. Don't forget to hit that like button, click on the subscribe button and the little bell that pops up for email notifications. I love hearing from you. Leave me comments in the comment section. And let's get started on lesson number 5. So I took my 3/4 inch wool circle, I whip stitched it around, and I left about a tiny opening, and then I stuffed it with this, which is a fiberfill. It's for, stuffing dolls and stuff, animals. And I stuffed it, and then I whip stitched the rest down on this circle. And now I'm going to stitch on top of all of this. I'm going to try to do something a little different. I'm going to try to do a 10 spoke, and I'm putting it right on the top and I'm pressing it down hard. And I'm going to take a chalk pencil and I'm just going to mark the ends. I don't need to mark anything else because I'm going to do a whipped woven. This is House of Embroidery. It's number 33, and I think I'm going to use that for my whipped woven. So I'm going to thread this on an 18 chenille, and I'm going to go from one of the dots to the side. Let's see how that works. There's that. And now I have to come up into the center, or as close to center as I can. And I'll start doing my whipped woven. Just going to keep going around until this is completely covered. Okay, so I'm right at the end here, and I'm just trying to squeeze in a couple more. I may not be able to, but I want this to be fairly tight in here, and so I'm just going to try. And I think that's it. I don't think I can get many more in here. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. Pull my thread down into the back. This is my silken chenille, old lace, and I think a couple of 3-wrap French knots here. Sort of random. Do sort of a cluster of them here. So I'm just doing a whole bunch of them really close together. I think that's it. I just wanted like a little nest of them. So I did, I think, 12. I have made up a little, this is just a little sample, because on shape H, I don't show the drizzle stitch cluster, and I don't show all the beads that I add. So I'm going to do a little cluster of drizzle stitches. Not that, I mean, most of you know how to do a drizzle stitch, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is Silk and Pearl on a number 3 Milner's. I've got my little drizzle pad below, and I'm just going to go in and do a little cluster of them right here at the base of my little raised cup variation / buttonhole filler in the round. I'm going to vary how many I do, how many cast-ons I do on this. So that's 12. It's amazing how many cast-ons you can squeeze into, and it makes such a little drizzle. So I'm going to do twice as many on this one. That's 24. I'll do one more that's a little bit smaller right here at the base. Now, I'm going to scatter some beads around this because that's the other thing I didn't show. This is my little bead pack. It's all assorted. Sue Spargo carries these on her site, and I'm just going to use a bunch of different ones. I'm threading up a number 11 short darner, but you can use whatever, if you have a beading needle or that's a thin enough needle that the beads will go through, as well as like a Milner's where the eye isn't pushing out. Whatever you can bead on, that's a good needle to use. And then I'm just randomly going to grab a bead from here. I'm going to come up and I'm just going to anchor it down, come up for the next one. There's nothing fancy going on here. Grab another bead, and I'm doing this a kind of scattered look. I can make them as dense or as far apart as I want. Put another one here and maybe one here. So I have a little cluster of them close together. All right, so here's the thing about random. I want this to look scattered, and in order to do that, I'm going to need a bunch of them close together and then a few that aren't close together. So I'm going to have a little cluster here, and then I can scatter a few, maybe one over here. I don't spend too much time thinking about this. I don't agonize over it. I just kind of grab a bead, look at my space. Where does it look like one should go? I like to have an assortment so that I find it is a little more interesting. And if I want, I can even scatter a couple outside of my shape. They don't have to stay within the confines of the shape. They can go outside the shape too. So maybe I do all of these kind of pearl-like ones. I do those here, and then maybe I do one coming out over here that's different. And maybe I do a couple together right here. Maybe I keep them all this kind of pearly looking one in a group, and maybe I do one more over here, and then that's it. I'm done. If I want, I can do a few more, scattered a few here. On this shape, I do not show this stitch. I better demonstrate it. This one is the variation on the whip woven using my silk gimp. This is the silk gimp and number 112. I'm not going to go ahead and do this again because I've shown this variation a number of times, so I'm just going to link to it. And then I just added a bead. I also don't show doing the seed stitch throughout. This is within the Oriental linen. I did the seed stitch all over after I had finished doing my 3 circles. But this one I'm going to demonstrate. I just drew a chalk 1/2 inch circle. I'm now going to thread up. I'm going to use a number 5 weight House of Embroidery number 42 because I have it around, and the instructions tell you which thread this is, the variegated, I can't remember, 02, 04, 03, something like that, ECM, but I'm going to just do it in this one. And just to demonstrate. So what I did was I did a back stitch, just like I would for a trellis, around my chalk line here. Oh, I also wanted to show you, I have put fray stopper, this, all along the edge of my linen, and it is fabulous. I just put a tiny little bit along the entire edge. So far so good. I'm not having any fraying at all. You could also just iron your fusible interfacing, just iron that right on before you even start stitching. That would work too. I'm so used to not having anything between me and the fabric, so I kind of love the fray stopper. So I'm just doing this little back stitch. I'm keeping it fairly small, my little stitches, just because I'm doing a little circle. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the buttonhole filler stitch in the round. And the reason I say it's a variation of the raised cup stitch is because, like the raised cup stitch, I'm going to go around and I'm not decreasing. I'm just going to build off of that shape. But it's the same idea as the buttonhole filler. So I come through, I have my thread beneath, I'm going to come through that back stitch, and I'm going to do this all the way around. All right, so that's my first. And now I'm going to go into my next row. So instead of going into a back stitch, I'm going into the stitches that I just did. So this is my second row now. The other thing is I should have kept a longer piece of thread because it's impossible to end this thread and start a new thread without it showing. So you want to keep a long enough length to do all the rows that you want. And I wanted to do 4, and there's no way I'm going to get to do 4, I don't think, with this little length of thread that I have. This is now my third row. All right, I'm going to end this now, and I'm just going to push this down. There it is. It's my little open buttonhole filler stitch done around without any decreasing. So in that way it's like a raised cup, but otherwise it's really a buttonhole filler stitch done in the round. So here's my variation on the whipped woven, which I've done before, where you do one back and then you go 3 forward, and then you go 2 back, 3 forward, 2 back, 3 forward. And it looks best when you do it with a lot of spokes, which is why I have 14 spokes here. On this circle, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think I might make that a bigger circle, actually. I'm going to draw a larger circle. I think I'll do a 3/4 inch circle. People always ask about the chalk pencil. It does break. You have to are more successful at times than others, but it just does break. So there's that. I'm using this number 8 weight EZ01. I'm going to do some wraps as well as some non-wraps, and so I'll just do a Milner's so that I can do my wraps. I think I'm going to do some fly stitches going into center. So there's my fly stitch. I was thinking I would weave something in, but I actually think I'm going to leave it. And I might do something on the little outside of the fly emanating out. I'm doing little 2-wrap French knots with the silk gimp. Silk gimp is a little tricky to work with because it does get a little tangled up, twists easily. So when I do this, I just make sure that I use my finger to slowly pull it in. I'm putting, with my gimp, my silk gimp, I'm using these little beads. They're size 15, and I'm just grabbing one and pulling it down the needle and then just stitching it in. I'm not doing anything fancy here. On the ends of each of these little legs. I'm using a number 11. This is an 11 short darner. The silk gimp barely slides on here, but I was able to thread it, and it's thin enough that these beads are really small. I don't have beads smaller than this. As you can see, I go slowly. I don't pull this very quickly because it tangles easily. So there it is with my little silk gimp French knots, 2-wrap, and then I did my little size 15 beads. And I'm going to do something around the edge, but it may just be a back stitch. I'm not sure. I did a running stitch just around the edge on the inside, and I'm going to leave the outer edge alone. I'm not going to do anything to it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful as you continue stitching on your River Rocks pouch. Don't forget to hit that like button, click on the subscribe button so you don't miss any videos, click on the bell for email notifications, and leave me comments in the comments section. I love hearing from you. Don't forget to check out the description section where I'll leave links for all the different things that I use in this video and in the making of this pouch. Until next time, here's to stitching our River Rocks pouch together.